We surveyed 329 people, and it was a cross-section, all industries, different sizes. So yes, it speaks to both small and large. And it's obviously concerning because the report found that 53% of businesses invested in IT purely to keep the lights on. And given our current economic climate, the need for growth, we'd kind of like intuitively know that technology can actually help. So why not? We should be really using technology to drive business.
When you look at the findings of your report, why do you think there's a lack of urgency by businesses to invest in the area? Is it due to finances?
Cost is obviously a big part, but maybe I can use an example. Citrix is in the business of digital transformation. So we talk to a lot of customers. Typically what you see is, for example, I was talking to a group of salespeople. They use a customer relationship management system. So key financial data, customer experience, and they use it daily. This system's been written over the last 10, 15 years. When you ask them, can you actually use the system on your iPad or at home, they give you kind of a blank stare, and they say, no, we actually have to drive into the office, lost productivity. Then you talk to the IT department and say, why haven't you moved this to the cloud? And they just say, hey, Brendan, we don't actually have the money to rewrite it. So there's a cost, but actually how to do it. Now, to contextualize that, most companies, some of the big banks, don't have one system like that. They've probably got 800, 900. Very hard to drive it.
Now, in terms of our skill set in South Africa when it comes to ICT, how do we fare globally? And do you think that our education system gears young people sufficiently well so that they can be qualified for the sector going forward?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question, but I mean, clearly the studies showed that the respondents that were surveyed, that we didn't feel that there were enough resources to do this. And kind of going back to the example of this homegrown Windows application, you've got to think there's no way that we've got enough skills, even if the universities are doing a great job, and some of them definitely are, of gearing our young people to be developers and so on. But we just don't have enough developers. So you have to look at a different way to do it. And that's what Citrix is all about. Use technology to enable your existing technology to move you into the new world. When we talk about digital transformation, we like to kind of narrow it down and talk about moving to the world of cloud and moving to the world of mobile. So being able to access your data anywhere, on any device, anytime.
And then now for companies, small and large, that are watching, what is it that they need to be doing now so that they don't lose their competitive edge going forward?
I think the biggest danger is you don't know what you don't know. So there's always a need to educate and be aware of what technologies are out there. You can't be complacent, and that was the concern from the study. There were a lot of companies that said leaders weren't actually intimately involved in driving digital transformation. It's a heavy task, it's heavy lifting. You need buy-in from the top. Everybody needs to understand what it is to be a digital organization. We like to typically categorize organizations into either digitally born, they've always had cloud, always had mobile, but the most of our organizations are actually not digitally born. How do they get to compete with these digitally born organizations? Everybody in the organization needs to understand digital and have an appetite to use technology to actually help them compete with these digitally native organizations. So as Citrix, we're encouraging people to understand it, to get more involved with it, right from the top, right down to the bottom.
And then lastly, Brendan, just tell us what is the importance of being digitized in terms of economic growth?
You've got to understand that you're addressing a target market. How do you communicate with that target market? I was listening to a talk the other day. Typically, as a company, you've spent 70 to 80% of your money on, say, marketing and doing maybe TV advertising. Don't throw me out the studio. But what typically happens, people, when they get to the ads, they fast forward. So if you don't understand how to actually get to your target market, and you understand that they're using different platforms like websites, Instagram, and different platforms, you need to understand that. You need to be able to take your business and understand that your target market has an audience as well. They talking, tweeting, talking about your products, your services. You need to be able to reach them in the right way. If you're not digitally savvy, it really is limiting from a growth perspective.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. That was Brendan McAvery. He's Country Manager at Citrix.